I've been abracadabraed into a fancy feasting second-rate sidekick.
Donkey?
I feel all exposed.
Hey, how's it going? You can't lie. Where is Shrek?
When people talk about animated franchises that manage to redefine the fairy tale genre for modern audiences, the Shrek series almost always comes up. By the time Shrek the Third arrived in 2007, the green ogre had already become one of the most recognizable characters in animation, known for turning classic storybook expectations upside down with sarcasm, pop culture humor, and a surprisingly heartfelt perspective on identity and friendship. The story picks up after the events of the previous adventures, at a moment when Shrek is finally beginning to enjoy something close to a peaceful life. Instead of chasing villains or saving kingdoms, he's settling into married life with Princess Fiona and doing his best to adapt to the royal environment of Far, Far Away, a kingdom that feels about as different from his beloved swamp as a place possibly could. Yet the quiet never lasts long in Shrek's world, and this time the disruption comes not from a villainous monster, but from the responsibilities of royalty itself. The situation begins when King Harold, Fiona's father, falls seriously ill. Harold had once been an intimidating figure to Shrek, especially when he struggled to accept his daughter's unconventional marriage to an ogre. Over time, however, their relationship evolved into something much warmer, and Harold gradually realized that Shrek's honesty and loyalty made him worthy of being part of the royal family. As Harold's health declines, the looming question of succession becomes impossible to ignore. According to royal tradition, the next ruler of Far, Far Away would naturally be Shrek. For most people, the chance to inherit a kingdom might sound like a dream, but for Shrek, it feels more like a nightmare. The thought of abandoning the swamp, the place where he feels most comfortable and most like himself, fills him with dread. Shrek has never wanted power or status. What he values most is simplicity, privacy, and the freedom to live life on his own terms. The idea of wearing royal robes, attending endless ceremonies, and being responsible for an entire kingdom makes him deeply uncomfortable. Despite his love for Fiona, he worries that becoming king would trap him in a world that doesn't suit who he truly is. This internal conflict becomes the central emotional engine of the story. Shrek must confront the possibility that life may demand more from him than he ever expected, while also trying to find a path that allows him to remain authentic to himself. Before passing away, King Harold reveals that there may be another heir who could take the throne instead. That heir is Artie Pendragon, usually called Artie, a distant relative who is still a teenager. Harold suggests that if Shrek can find Artie and convince him to accept the crown, Far, Far Away will have a rightful king without forcing Shrek into a role he doesn't want. To Shrek, this solution feels like a lifeline. Determined to avoid the throne, he immediately sets out on a journey to locate Artie and bring him back to the kingdom. Naturally, Shrek doesn't go alone. His closest friends, Donkey and Puss in Boots, join him on the adventure. Donkey remains as energetic and talkative as ever, constantly providing comedic commentary and often complicating situations with his enthusiasm. Puss in Boots, meanwhile, continues to balance charm with bravado, acting as both a skilled fighter and a loyal companion. Their dynamic with Shrek remains one of the most entertaining aspects of the series. Donkey's boundless optimism and Puss's confident swagger contrast perfectly with Shrek's grumpy practicality, creating a trio whose friendship feels genuine even amid the chaos. While Shrek and his friends leave to find Artie, the kingdom of Far, Far Away begins facing a completely different threat. Prince Charming, the self-absorbed antagonist who previously tried to win Fiona's hand, is still furious about how his fairy tale destiny was derailed. In his mind, he was supposed to be the hero who rescued the princess and became king. Instead, he ended up humiliated and overshadowed by an ogre. Consumed by resentment, Charming decides that if the story won't give him the happy ending he believes he deserves, he will take it by force. To carry out his plan, Charming gathers a group of disgruntled villains from across the fairy tale world. Characters who once served as minor antagonists, figures like Captain Hook, the Evil Queen, and other familiar storybook troublemakers, find themselves drawn together under Charming's leadership. Many of them feel they've been unfairly cast as villains, while the traditional heroes get all the glory. Charming taps into this frustration, promising them recognition and power if they help him seize control of Far, Far Away. The result is a humorous yet surprisingly organized rebellion that threatens the stability of the kingdom. Meanwhile, Shrek's journey to find Artie leads him to a very different environment, a medieval academy where Artie attends school. Instead of a confident future king, Shrek discovers a nervous teenager who struggles with self-confidence and social acceptance. Artie is often mocked by other students, and the idea of ruling a kingdom seems completely overwhelming to him. At first, Artie doesn't believe Shrek's story about the throne, and when he realizes it might actually be true, he reacts with a mixture of disbelief and panic. Shrek's attempt to convince Artie to embrace the responsibility of becoming king become a major part of the narrative. Ironically, Shrek tries to persuade Artie by emphasizing how difficult and unpleasant the job might be, hoping that reverse psychology will push the teenager toward accepting the role out of pride. But Artie's insecurity runs deep. He worries that he isn't brave enough, smart enough, or strong enough to rule. These doubts mirror Shrek's own fears about leadership and responsibility, creating an interesting parallel between the seasoned ogre and the uncertain young heir. As the journey continues, Shrek begins to realize that convincing Artie to become king isn't simply about handing over a title. It requires helping the young man believe in himself. This gradual mentorship becomes one of the emotional arcs of the story. Shrek, who once believed he had nothing to teach anyone, starts offering guidance in his own blunt but sincere way. Through moments of humor, conflict, and honesty, Artie slowly begins to develop a sense of courage. Back in Far, Far Away, Princess Fiona refuses to sit idly by while Prince Charming's forces threaten the kingdom. Fiona has always been far more capable than the traditional fairy tale princess stereotype, and this time she takes an active leadership role in defending the castle. She gathers a group of royal friends, other princesses who have also appeared throughout the Shrek universe. Instead of portraying them as helpless damsels, the story highlights their personalities, strengths, and determination. The group includes characters who, in their original fairy tales, were often defined by passivity. Here, they form a supportive and capable team. Together, they prepare to resist Charming's coup and protect the kingdom until Shrek returns. Their scenes add both humor and a subtle commentary on classic fairy tale tropes, continuing the franchise's tradition of reimagining familiar characters in unexpected ways. As Charming's plan unfolds, he and his army of villains take control of key locations throughout Far, Far Away. His goal is to stage a dramatic takeover that mirrors the kind of theatrical storytelling he believes he deserves. Charming sees himself as the misunderstood star of a grand narrative, and his obsession with appearances and dramatic flair leads to several comedic moments. Even while plotting conquest, he remains focused on being admired. During Shrek's return journey with Artie, the group faces several obstacles that test their patience and teamwork. One particularly chaotic moment involves Donkey and Puss in Boots experiencing a magical mishap that causes them to swap bodies. The situation creates a series of absurd misunderstandings and physical comedy, forcing the two friends to cooperate in entirely new ways. Their predicament also highlights how much they rely on each other despite their constant teething. As the story progresses, Shrek's personal life introduces another layer of anxiety. Fiona reveals that she is pregnant, meaning Shrek will soon become a father. The news fills him with equal parts joy and terror. Shrek worries that he won't know how to raise children or be a good parent. These fears amplify his existing reluctance to become king, because the thought of balancing fatherhood with royal responsibilities feels overwhelming. The film uses these moments to explore Shrek's vulnerability. Beneath his tough exterior, he's deeply concerned about failing the people he cares about. His journey becomes less about escaping responsibility and more about understanding what kind of role he wants to play in the lives of others. By helping Artie find confidence, Shrek begins confronting his own doubts about leadership and family. When Shrek, Donkey, Puss, and Artie finally return to Far, Far Away, they discover that Prince Charming's takeover is already underway. The villains have captured key allies and disrupted the kingdom's normal order. What follows is a confrontation that blends action with the franchise's signature humor. Instead of relying purely on strength or intimidation, the heroes must outthink their opponents and rally the kingdom's citizens. Artie ultimately plays a crucial role in resolving the conflict. Rather than defeating the villains through violence, he addresses them directly, appealing to their desire for recognition and respect. His speech challenges the idea that anyone is permanently defined by being a villain. The moment reflects the Shrek series' recurring theme that labels and stereotypes don't determine a person's destiny. Everyone has the potential to change their story. Charming, however, refuses to abandon his obsession with being the hero of his own tale. His inability to accept reality leads to his downfall, and the rebellion collapses soon afterward. With the kingdom safe again, the path is finally clear for Artie to take his place as the new king. The once insecure teenager accepts the crown with a newfound sense of confidence and responsibility. For Shrek, the resolution brings immense relief. By helping Artie become king, he is ensured that Far, Far Away will be led by someone who genuinely cares about its people, while also allowing himself to return to the life he values most. Yet the journey has changed him. He is no longer simply the solitary ogre who wanted to be left alone. He has grown into someone capable of guiding others and facing new challenges, including the upcoming adventure of fatherhood. The film closes with Shrek returning to the swamp with Fiona, Donkey, and Puss, preparing for the arrival of his children. The once reluctant hero now approaches the future with a mixture of nervousness and optimism. Instead of running from responsibility, he has learned that embracing the right responsibilities, those connected to love, friendship, and family, can be deeply meaningful. Shrek 3 occupies an interesting place within the larger Shrek franchise. It continues the series' tradition of mixing fairy tale satire with genuine emotional storytelling, while expanding the world with new characters like Artie. The film maintains the playful tone audiences expect, filled with jokes, references, and exaggerated situations, yet it also focuses heavily on themes of maturity and identity. Over time, the Shrek series has remained culturally influential because of how it challenged traditional storytelling formulas. Instead of presenting perfect heroes and villains, it explored flawed characters who discover their strengths through unexpected friendships and experiences. In Shrek 3, that philosophy is extended to a younger generation through Artie, suggesting that even those who feel overlooked or underestimated can rise to great responsibility. The legacy of the film continues to be tied to the broader popularity of the Shrek universe. Fans still revisit the characters for their humor, their emotional honesty, and the way they reinterpret fairy tale mythology with a modern perspective. Whether through Shrek's gruff but caring personality, Donkey's unstoppable enthusiasm, Puss in Boots' dramatic heroics, or Fiona's determined independence, the story remains part of a franchise that reshaped animated comedy for an entire generation.